Welcome to Ascension Arcana Tarot. This is Christine with a general collective reading. I wanted to do a special reading for both Halloween on October 31st and also the new moon in Scorpio, which will be on November 1st. So it's feeling to me like those energies are pretty connected, and I wanted to pull a reading on them. So let's do the thing. As always, this is a general collective reading, so please take what resonates for you and leave the rest behind. God, what does this collective need to know for the energies of Halloween and the Scorpio new moon? We have death. All right, well, that's really funny. I was just explaining to my son in the car the holiday of Halloween and how it's about that death energy. That's really funny. Okay, so for me, Halloween is the pagan holiday of Samhain, which is not spelled that way, but that's how it's pronounced. And it's one of the 2 times of the year where like traditional pagan religions believe that sort of the veil between the worlds was the thinnest. So folks believe that it's one of the easiest times of the year to communicate kind of across that veil with their ancestors or loved ones who have passed away. I feel like I'm getting that from that card, but I'm also just getting that profound energy of transformation. Yeah, especially with the new moon energy. So new moons for me are the time of planting the new seeds. So if you ever do like manifestation cycles with the moon, right? The new moon is when you plant the seeds, and then the seeds sort of grow as the moon is growing. When you get to the full moon, it's the time of like really harvesting the fruits of what you planted. And then as the moon wanes and becomes smaller again, you sort of go into like a reflection time of, okay, you know, what worked for my manifestations, what didn't work, what do I still want to manifest, what am I going to do next time? So I'm really feeling that like the cycle of the moon there. And the new moon kind of being at that stage. I just did a reading where we had like a phoenix rising energy, and I feel like I'm seeing like the baby phoenix as the new moon, right? And you're sort of in this like new fresh energy. So it's kind of after that moment of death where you're reborn into like the new you, right? And you're kind of like vulnerable and new and fresh. Kind of open, right? Open, I feel like even to that spirit communication, kind of more spiritual on a higher level. That's a cool energy. Excuse me. We have the King of Swords and the 9 of Swords here, which says despair and cruelty. Yikes. Actually, I feel like that's an energy of being afraid of this change. I'm really drawn to like how white all those cards are. So the death card, right? The epitome of that energy is change. It does not literally mean like physical death. Tarot cards are not used to predict things like that, right? It happens in like movies in Hollywood when people are being silly, but that's not really what this means. So the death card in tarot is sort of like the slow forward marching of an inevitable ending. And it's sort of like the writings on the wall. You can see this horse coming from a mile away. Like it's not like the Tower where it's a sudden surprise. The death card, it's inevitable, and it often comes with pain. Sometimes endings can be really sad, right? And this card definitely has this vibe. So I feel like this is an energy of, it's like you can see this change coming, or maybe you know that this change is inevitable or like has to happen, but you're not really into it. You don't really want it to happen. The swords feel very spiky to me in these cards, and I also feel like a a defensiveness, like the way that the king is even kind of wielding that sword. It feels like he needs to kind of protect himself. But I feel like what he is trying to protect himself from are the thoughts. So it's interesting that these are both swords. They're not cups, right? So this isn't even really about your emotions. It's about your thoughts and getting stuck up in some, just like some fearful thoughts about that change and having a lot of anxiety about this incoming change. It's interesting. I like those. So the Four of Swords here says rest from strife. And then we have the World card. Yeah, I feel like that's the Phoenix Rising energy that I was just talking about. So the Four of Swords here, it's peaceful. It almost feels to me, it's funny that it's another swords card, but it's like a different way of handling those thoughts. So the King of Swords and the Nine of Swords here, it's like getting overwhelmed by negative thoughts, by fear, and then him taking that sword and feeling like he has to like defend himself from that, right? Instead of defending, what the Four of Swords is doing is surrendering. He's resting. He's showing you a different way of handling some of those scared thoughts. So I feel like it's important to say that it's okay to be afraid of change. It's just a feeling, right? And I think it's a feeling that everyone on the planet has probably had at some point in their life. Even if it's a positive change, right? Sometimes change just feels a little scary because there's some uncertainty there. There's some unknown there. I'm really feeling the message of meditation here and using meditation to kind of just that practice, right? Of like observing the thoughts and letting them pass, observing the thoughts and letting them pass, and doing that in like a really peaceful way instead of getting kind of tangled up in them like this Nine of Swords. He is kind of maintaining his peace while also kind of dealing with the swords. And the World card here, to me, feels like another energy of transformation. It's like what I was saying with the death and that analogy of the phoenix, right? Where I was channeling that energy of like the little tiny baby phoenix that's like all vulnerable and brand new. That's what happens to you with the World card, where the World is the final card of the major arcana. It's the place where you have finally successfully learned this kind of stage of lessons in your life. So I feel like once you are able to kind of be meditative with these thoughts around the fear of this change and kind of handle those thoughts in a more peaceful way, right? Maintaining your peace here. That's how you kind of transcend this lesson and elevate up to like the next level of that ascension spiral. It's really beautiful. And it feels very calming and safe to me, this energy, that even when these kind of spiky, fearful thoughts come in, that you have a method for handling those in like a peaceful way. It's the difference between the thoughts having control, like the thoughts sort of being in the driver's seat, versus you having control, not over the circumstances, right? You can't control what the universe brings into you, but you can sort of be the commander of how you choose to process that and how you choose to handle it. And this feels like the most peaceful and most like productive way to handle this energy. So this is interesting. I'm curious. Actually, I feel like I want to pull on that before we switch over. I'm curious what this change is for you. At the bottom of the deck is the Star card. I have not edited all of these. Apparently I missed the Star card. YouTube has like I don't know, bots or whatever that look for nudity on cards, and there's quite a bit of them in tarot cards. So anyways, that Star card energy is profound healing. Profound healing. That's what I'm getting from that. It's really bouncing off of the Four of Swords for me. I feel like this could be like a life-changing practice for you. And I say practice because it is a practice, right? Like for most people on the planet, meditation takes practice. It's not just something that you wake up and all of a sudden you're like the commander of your thoughts, right? So I'm pulling on the Death card. I want to know, what is this change for you? We have the Knight of Wands, the Hermit, and the Hierophant. This is interesting. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, there are multiple people watching, right? So I can channel this energy. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will resonate for everyone. But what I'm getting here is the energy of someone pretty quickly coming out of hermit mode and into Hierophant mode. So the Knight of Wands, he can be like a pretty fiery, impulsive dude, but all that I'm really getting from this card is the quickness. So like the speed, he's one of the very fast knights. And also the fire, I feel like, is going back to that sort of Phoenix Rising energy. I feel like this is a person who's doing a lot of spiritual work and is sort of in that hermit mode where you're very solitary and kind of keeping to yourself and maybe like solemn as you're kind of going through this transformation. And I love in the Hermit, he has the star from the star card in his lantern. So that's actually really cool. The healing of that star card really kind of being your guiding light, right? And the Hierophant is, that's cool. I'm drawn to the stars around him too. He is a spiritual leader. He's a spiritual teacher. So if you're in this collective, what this is feeling like to me is you're kind of mastering these lessons, and in some way you're going to go on to like model for others or teach others the things that you've learned here. It feels really powerful. So it's a message of really being like deep within for the moment, but at some point coming out and being able to teach others. So it could just be like conversations with friends. It could be that you become like a meditation teacher, or maybe you write an article about it. Yeah, there's going to be some way I feel that you're like communicating this to others, and you're going to be like really excited about your insights and your healing. Cool. So in Halloween fashion, I have the witches to help us with the other side over here, which is that advice side. Kind of what else does the universe want us to know about this energy and how we can heal it? What would you like us to know here, God, about the energies of the new moon in Scorpio and Halloween? I got the Eight of Swords. Yeah, I feel like that's a similar message to over here, where it's that same kind of worried or like being kind of tied up in those ego thoughts. My favorite thing about the Eight of Swords, I think what the universe wants to remind us about here, is that if you look at this card, this woman could literally just walk out of this Circle of Swords. She's like really not bound all that tightly. She's just got this little thing across her face, and there's even a castle in the background. So like, unless the people in the castle were the ones who tied her up, she can just walk out of that circle, cross this swamp, right, and go to the castle and get some help. It's the illusion of being trapped by these thoughts. I feel like that's the illusion that you're overcoming in terms of the fear of this change. I've got a couple friends sticking out here. Queen of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. I like that. The first thing I'm getting from the two of them is just how empowered they are. I feel like the Queen of Swords is so no BS. Like, she is not at all letting herself get stuck in this swordsy energy. She's very empowered, and I love how she has her hand kind of crooked. It reminds me of, like, is it in the Matrix where there's like fight scenes and they go like this, like they're like, you know, bring it on kind of, and like beckoning. She feels like a very empowered energy to me. And the way that she's holding the sword is very different than the way that he's holding the sword. There's like a peace about it. Like she has that power there, but she doesn't feel the need to use it in like a defensive way. The Queen of Pentacles is lovely. She just is very peaceful to me, and I always imagine her sitting in her throne as she's like receiving her abundance from the universe. It really just feels to me like two very empowered, peaceful energies. That Queen of Swords having that clarity and the power, and the Queen of Pentacles just being that like soft, receptive energy. I feel like these two are kind of showing you again a different way of handling these sort of swordsy thoughts. We have the Fool and the Four of Pentacles. Yeah, that message feels very clear to me. I feel like these two are referring back to this Death card, where I was saying it's that feeling of being afraid of the change. The Fool card is very open-minded and open-hearted to change. Like he sort of hops right off this cliff, and I always imagine like the hand of the divine kind of catching him, right? Like it's a leap of faith. He doesn't know what's going to happen. But he's just this open-hearted adventurer, and really kind of, I just channeled the message. He's just really seeking God. So I've shared with you guys, God is the word that resonates for me. It could be whatever your higher spiritual power is, whatever you feel like you connect with. So your higher self, your ancestors, angels, it could be multiple gods and goddesses, like whatever resonates is fine. The Four of Pentacles is that clinging energy, right? It's feeling to me like that energy of clinging to what you have, clinging to your good, because you're afraid of losing it and you're afraid it will never get better. So it's like fearing that change, having these ego thoughts of like, you know, I don't want this change, and resisting the change because you think you're going to lose the good things that you have and that it will never get better. And I feel like the Fool here is advising you to move towards this change, to move into the change. And even his posture, I'm really feeling like to move into it with an open heart. You know, his shoulders are kind of thrown back and his chest is kind of lifted. He has that open heart posture. This is a cool reading. Please don't say anything else. I don't know why I usually only do 3 rows, but I feel like we might have another card or two. We'll see. Yeah, we got the Ace of Swords. It's interesting to me how many swords are in this reading. We have sword, sword, sword. The Queen of Swords here, and then the Ace of Swords. So the Ace of Swords for me, it's actually reminding me of the way that the Queen of Swords is holding her sword, just sort of straight up like that, right? It's literally her sword. That's really cool. It just feels like clarity. It feels like cutting through the BS. And what's coming to me is like using logic to sort of cut through these places where you're in like this anxiety spiral. So like this guy, he's not looking to me like he's ready to use logic. He looks like he's ready to go to war. But this sword, it just has like a peaceful, restful feeling to me. I don't know how a sword can feel peaceful and restful, but that's how it feels. Being able to have that peace, right, from this Four of Swords, and really use logic to kind of cut through that anxiety spiral of thoughts. That's like really lovely. The clarity of this card is bouncing off the clarity of the Fool and the clarity of the Queen of Swords for me. Is there anything else that you want to say? The last one that wants to come out is the Ten of Wands. I feel that. It feels like this is you kind of carrying this heavy burden, right? To be in this anxiety spiral feeling like you're kind of constantly at war with these upset, worried thoughts, it's exhausting. I feel like it's an energy leak. I feel like it's just like mentally and physically and spiritually, it's like draining and it's exhausting. And I feel like that's the energy of the Ten of Wands, where this person has persisted and pushed through challenges as they've moved from the Ace of Wands to the Ten of Wands. And they're finally almost there, right? This guy has to cross this field. He has to probably climb up a little path here, and then he'll be up at the castle and he'll be done with his job. But what I'm really drawn to here are the blossoms. I'm not always drawn to that, but I'm really drawn to those blossoms. It feels to me like you had to walk through this energy. You had to experience this anxiety spiral, right? And this kind of defensive, it feels like fight or flight, right? And he is fighting. Kind of almost like having that animal part of your brain activated out of fear. I mean, come on, if this was coming at you in real life, I would be terrified. My fight or flight response would be activated. So it's like you had to walk the path of going through this, and experiencing this energy and kind of carrying the burden of learning how to like grapple with that anxiety and those anxious thoughts in order to grow, in order to blossom. That's what I'm getting from here. So the wands being that burden, right? But learning from that and growing from that and blossoming from that. This is like a really big, important lesson for you if you're in this collective. And I just feel like with it being Halloween, right? It's special holiday, and then the new moon energy, like right on top of that, just feels like a really powerful time of transformation, especially with Halloween being a holiday that is so kind of related to death. And like I said, that veil between the worlds really being thin at this time of year. Planting the seeds, and I'm just drawn to that. Like you're planting seeds here of that healing, of practicing the new patterns, of, meditating or releasing those thoughts, or however this is resonating for you. And then these burdens become blossoms. They become the things that are helping you grow. It's like really beautiful energy. I love that. This is really cool. And again, like this transformation here that's happening with the change, I feel like it's you as a spiritual individual. It's almost like coming out of your spiritual closet. Like the hermit is that you've been healing alone and kind of quietly, right? And not really talking about it. And the Hierophant kind of coming into your power as a spiritual presence, as a spiritual person, as a teacher who's able to in some way like help or support or influence people around you who can benefit from your wisdom and like the things that you're learning here. On the bottom of the deck, I'm going to use Moonology because we're doing a moon reading. It says communication is key, new moon in Gemini. It's interesting. It's also interesting that I just pulled that on top of the Hierophant card saying that you will be communicating like your breakthroughs, right? And your wisdom with others. So I like that. I feel like that's maybe, it's like a cool way to share this gift, which might not feel like a gift right now if you're still in this anxiety spiral energy. But I think it will as you're passing through it and sort of leveling up to like that next level of the ascension spiral. But being able to communicate about that gift, being able to share your healing with others sort of locks it in, right? And really grounds it for you. I feel that. That's lovely. I even feel like drawn to the bird coming out of his hand as a symbol of communication, kind of like the old carrier pigeons or whatever, right? That would fly and like give a message. That's cool. Yeah, I feel that big times, the communication about this lesson that you're learning and how profound it is. I mean, man, even if it helps one person, that's how I feel about my tarot channel. Like, even if anything that I ever say helps one person, it's been worth it to spend all these months recording this, you know? That's really special to me. Is there anything that you would like to say to this collective around the energy of the new moon and Halloween? Yes, we have 3. Show the world the real you, full moon in Aquarius. I feel like that's what we were just talking about, where you're coming out of the spiritual closet, right? Moving away from that hermit energy and kind of practicing alone to the Hierophant energy, where you're really sharing this, your wisdom and your growth with others. And I feel like they're happy to listen to you. They want to hear what you have to say. It's beautiful. Kind of coming out of your shell, right? And seeing your value, seeing the value in these lessons that you've mastered. This is beautiful. I also feel like if you're in this collective, this is the real you. Is this Queen of Swords and Queen of Pentacles energy. And this is the real you, the world energy, where you're sort of coming out of this like, it's like an energy trap of the anxiety spiral, and really just coming into your power and grounding into your power and that clarity. Take time to breathe out. Disseminating moon. Yeah. I feel like that's reminding me of doing breath work for meditation, and also kind of connecting to these thoughts in that way. So I don't know if this will resonate for you guys, but this is a practice that helps me sometimes, is to sort of think the anxious thought or picture the anxious thought, right? And then like kind of breathe it out with like a loud breath or a sigh, and then kind of imagine it like I maybe will breathe towards a window and I imagine it like going out the window, right? And then the earth just being able to transform that energy into something beautiful. So that could resonate with you in terms of like this 4 of Swords card and just a new way of dealing with those anxious energies. I also feel like breathing out is such a surrendered energy. It's making me think of the Queen of Pentacles there too. She feels so peaceful and surrendered to me. I love her energy because she just feels completely worthy and completely willing to receive like every good thing from the universe. She's just like such a boss energy. I love her. The next one, last one, says, have faith in your dreams, waxing crescent moon. That's beautiful. Have faith in your dreams. Yeah, I feel that. So if you're in this collective, I feel like that might resonate around so just the concept of change, right? Change is not inherently like a good or bad thing, right? I like to imagine that as a person on my spiritual path, change for me is good, even if it kind of seems bad, quote bad, right? It's always bringing me closer and giving me gifts to help me with my ascension journey. But being able to remember that even if the change kind of looks intimidating or scary, in spiritual truth, it's bringing you closer to your dreams. And I feel that energy is lost here, kind of lost in like the worries and the anxiety. But being able to remember that, like, kind of, I don't know how to describe that. I'm feeling like it's keeping those dreams in your heart, almost like a thing that's grounding or rooting you, even just like in the background, right? Even if you're not constantly saying to yourself, like, this is my dream, this is my dream, this is my dream. Just having that grounded and rooted in the core of your heart somewhere, like a little ember that's glowing in the center of your heart, right? And even though all of this kind of flurry mind activity is going on around it, kind of that ember being protected and safe and always just glowing with like the promise of your dreams. It's actually reminding me of the star in the Hermit card, and even the star that we had seen on the bottom of the deck, right? That healing, and the star also representing wishes come true, right? And sometimes the journey for the star can be long. It can feel long, and it can feel like a wish that's been a long time coming. You're kind of going through quite a bit here before that energy is coming in. But man, when you master this, it feels like that star from the Hermit's Lantern now becomes the star over your crown chakra as you're like teaching and spreading this awesomeness that you've learned towards other people who really want to hear you, who want to learn from you and know how you've mastered this. It's like really special. That was a cool reading. I hope that this resonated and was helpful for you. If you wish, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, leave me a comment, as all of those things help me as I'm growing my channel. And I hope to see you in my next reading. Bye.